I was thinking, wanting to do like a new intro and use a "Come On, Feel the Noise" by Quiet Riot, but I feel like I'd get copyrighted, so I can't.
You'd get copyrighted by both Quiet Riot and the original performers of that song, Slade.
Oh wait, that Quiet Riot isn't the original performer of that song?
I'm 99% certain that's an old Slade song from the early 70s, from the era of glam. Not even
Interesting.
Not even metal or whatever you would call that, like sort of almost metal at the time. Hold on, we're already derailed.
Yeah, by the way, welcome to the Pump Fake, everybody. This is a football show, but Quiet Riot has been stuck in my head all day. I'm Jarrett Bailey. That other voice that you hear if you're listening to this as a podcast is Mike Tenier, Too Deep Zone, the self-acclaimed man who killed the New York Times and the Messenger. It's great to see you, my friend. How are you?
Doing great. Haven't killed the Pump Fake yet. Not for want of trying.
Not yet.
And yes, Come On, Feel the Noise was an old Slade song, as was Mama, Mama, We're All Crazy Now. A couple of the big hits by, I think, both Quiet Riot and Twisted Sister were old Slade songs. Look Slade up, folks. Young people.
Yeah,
look them up.
What generation is Slade? I can't say I'm familiar with them.
Slade is from like the early 70s. They would have been contemporaries of bands like T-Rex and things like that, really going back a minute.
Interesting. Well, Quiet Riot wasn't too far after that.
Mid-80s.
Okay.
Mid-80s.
Their lead singer died, didn't he? Pretty sure he died.
I don't remember. Like, they were always like the hardcore metal core of it was like your Iron Maiden and your Judas Priest and acts like that. And then there were these more sort of pop-oriented bands. And that's where Quiet Riot and Twisted Sister, where they're trying a little harder to be on MTV, like offending your mom.
Got you. Where does Cinderella fall on that? We've had conversations about Cinderella before. I feel like they're more of a glam look.
New Jersey's own Cinderella. And I would say there's kind of in between because they were like a heavier Bon Jovi.
Yeah, okay. Yeah, that's a very good comparison for Cinderella's heavier Bon
Jovi. Yes, there you go.
All right. Well, if you're tuning into this, yes, the first iteration of my game by game picks, as I was hunched over my desk at like 2:30 in the morning the other night, like a detective from the 40s trying to put away a mob boss, figuring out how to put him away. When really I was just figuring out, all right, are the Texans going to win in week 12? Like this is what I do. So what we're going to do, we're going to go through division by division. Let me get the actual like graphics that I have pulled up just so we can give as accurate as a prediction as I have here. So Mike Tenier, we will start in the AFC North, where I have it Cincinnati Bengals as the winning the division, followed by the Steelers in second, the Browns and Ravens tied in third, but Browns with the better divisional record. And in this case, I have the Bengals as the 2 seed and the Steelers as the 7. The record predictions I have: Bengals 13-4, Steelers 10-7, Browns and Ravens both falling at 9-8. A lot of people are angry at me about the Ravens thing. I think that comes with the caveat of their defensive coordinator, Mike McDonald, is gone, as are multiple key defensive players on that side of the ball. And I don't bank on Lamar being healthy for all 17 games. So,
but you bank on Joe Burrow being healthy for all 17 games.
Hey,
1 year out of 50-50, right?
That's fair. I hear you on that. That's fine.
And who's your quarterback for the Steelers getting them to the 7th seed?
Yes. Go ahead.
Did you see the Chargers schedule release Sims?
I did. It was very good.
Right, with Russ and Fields popping off.
Tremendous stuff. I think it could be very similar to last year, not in terms of how horrible the offense was, but where, the Steelers, the offense is better than what it was last year, but if they're, hovering at 6-3 and the offense is still only scoring 18, 19 points a game, when they go into that second half of the schedule, we're like, okay, we got all of our divisional games here. We got this 25-year-old, 26-year-old, really athletic guy on the bench who could probably do more. Let's see what he's got. So even if they do switch quarterbacks, which I think it's very possible that they will, they did it last year and still had a good record in doing so. I think that it could be similar to that. And it's hard for me to envision the Steelers being worse than what they were last year because, and again, I very much, I'm a Steelers fan. I'm a little bit sure, whatever. But, having last year, having a bottom 3 quarterback room, maybe the worst offensive coordinator in football, a really bad offensive line, They've upgraded all of those. Plus, they got a few new key pieces on the defensive side of the ball. I just don't see them being worse than what they were last year, which was 10 wins. With the Ravens, their defense, I don't see their defense being as good as it was last year, where they were just tremendous. And all the takeaways, I don't think that that's going to carry over into 2024. So, and plus the the caveat that I'm sure we'll argue about it with Lamar staying healthy. They're not going to make the playoffs every year, and I think that this will be a year where they're still going to be in the hunt. They're not going to be horrible, but I think it'll just be a down year after a really good one.
Yeah, this is the hardest division probably to prognosticate. You can put them in 4 different, or however many, 4 times 3 times 2, 24 different configurations, and all of them can be justified. I'll tell you what I have in my back pocket here is Aaron Schatz's FTN DVOA Almanac projections, not fully baked, not suitable for release yet.
Sure.
But the Ravens have the top projection in the NFL.
As I figured they would, yeah.
Right. Now, I don't have a full explanation of that because they're not one of the teams I'm writing a chapter on, so I didn't grill on. I'm like, how on earth do you have the Ravens number 1? Well, they're an amazing team and they're a great franchise. But I guess when I see that, and I get what you're saying with the Steelers, the Browns are this very high volatility thing. We don't want to talk about the quarterback situation. But
right.
That dip poop disappears and they still make the playoffs, so you can put them anywhere you want. Is the with the Bengals, and not so much the Burrow thing, but we don't know what the Higgins situation is. Boyd is gone. I think that they've suffered defections on defense as well. That's a hard team that I see to put at the top of the list there.
With the Bengals, that would be me kind of doing the opposite of the Ravens and banking on all of their upside to just really click. Mm-hmm. I think when it comes to their defense, they brought in Geno Stone from Baltimore, they brought back Von Bell. They did lose DJ Reader, with that'll be a bummer in the middle of their defense for sure.
Yes.
But I think a lot of it too is they realize that this is probably their last chance at running it with this group, at least. Not to say that if they don't win it this year, they never will. But T. Higgins is going to be gone after this year. They prepared for that by drafting Jermaine Burton. So I'm confident in their receiving corps with Chase, with Higgins, with Burton. They also, Andre Yoshivas as well. They've got some guys there. They brought over Zach Moss to complement Chase Brown in the backfield after trading Mixon to Houston for a bag of Doritos. So I think it'll be a bounce back year for Cincinnati after Burrow dealt with the wrist last year and the calf in the preseason that went into he was beat to hell last year. So hoping for a full year of health for Joe Burrow, and if that is the case, I think that they'll be right back in the thick of things in the AFC.
And what you did was you went game by game, and I just looked at the schedule strength for the Bengals, and Aaron has them as the 28th schedule.
Right.
So we can talk about relative qualities, but if their schedule is easier and they get 1 or 2 last place opponents, and that could be a difference maker in a tough division. Again, I see what you're saying here, and you got these. I'm sure whoever you think is in 4th place, you're talking about an 8 and 9 team or something.
Everybody in the AFC North, I think, is going to have a winning record. So Browns and Ravens are both 9 and 8.
Okay.
We'd be splitting hairs too, because would it surprise me if the Ravens go 11 and 6? No. Would it surprise me if the Browns did? No. But it's a tough division, very tough division.
Right. Again, because of what I've been seeing from the DVOA, Ravens in 4th place doesn't feel right, but I get where you're coming from.
Sure. And you know what? If I had to guess on which ones will be wrong, it'll probably be that one. But time will tell. Let's move on to the AFC East. Buffalo Bills winning the division again. The New York Jets. I'm really that's another one where that could totally blow up in my face with the Jets as the 5 seed, and then Dolphins in 3rd, the Patriots in 4th, with Buffalo and New York as the 4 and 5 seeds respectively. When it comes to the Bills, I think everybody is freaking out about a lot of nothing when it comes to the players that left. Stephon Diggs, sure, we can talk about that. But even
nothing, yeah,
that's not a nothing. That's not a nothing. Sure. Right. Even with Diggs, and I'm not trying to crap on Stephon Diggs, but he didn't have a 100-yard receiving game last year after week 6. Gabe Davis had 5 games where he caught 1 or 0 passes. Right. And then defensively, Trey White only played in 14 of the team's last 34 games. They let go of Mitch Morse, but they had an in-house replacement for him. The offensive line's still fine. I'm not worried too much about the pieces that they've lost. Diggs, yes, that one is the hardest one to replace, obviously. We'll see with this kid, Keon Coleman. Everybody seems to very much love him already because he's a media darling.
Right.
They brought in the likes of Curtis Samuel. They have Khalil Shakir, Dalton Kincaid, and when you got Josh Allen at your as quarterback, I'm not going to just write you off. So I think that until proven otherwise, they're going to be the top dog in that division.
Yeah, I don't have a problem with that. Like, I'm not calling it much ado without nothing, but they put a lot of effort into making sure that their core stayed together. And we'll have a different conversation maybe about the Cowboys in a little bit, but like the Bills put a lot of effort into that. So Bills at 1 is fine. I don't think there's anybody talking about the Patriots as anything but number 4.
They could be a fun number 4 though. Like if Drake May ends up being, at least looking fun, maybe they could at least be a fun 6-win team.
Throwing to whom?
Jalen Polk and Javon Baker, both rookies. Yeah.
It'll
be
a
young team.
Fun preseason. And then the Jets, if Aaron Rodgers is just, Matt Ryan, and you put the Jets in second, you say, okay, well, the veteran quarterback comes back. And if you look at the offseason they had, it was very strong. It was not in any way like this weird, look what the Jets did. It was stupid. And Aaron Rodgers was making decisions. No, they brought in veteran linemen. They had a good draft. They added some perimeter pieces to their receiving core, and their defense was already fine. I think they made an upgrade or two somewhere. They brought Hassan Riddick in, which is pretty significant there. So I don't mind the Jets ahead of the Dolphins. I do say that the FTN, it looks like the Dolphins are a little ahead of the Jets, but you're working off of this unbelievable wild card of this team that's replacing some of the worst quarterbacking we've ever seen with somebody a Hall of Famer at the end of his career, whatever that means, and whether this individual is going to show up and start, soliloquying about Vladimir Putin at halftime, or if he's going to be a normal person and just go out and play some football.
Wouldn't that be something? Welcome to the MetLife Aaron Rodgers halftime show. They just wheel out a desk at the 50-yard line. Welcome to the Aaron Rodgers experience. This is going to be good.
I hope he plays forever because I don't want to hear his podcast when he retires. I don't want to see how much money, like whatever weird cable channel that we flip through because all of its shows say like God's Plan for America and stuff like that like pay him all of their money so he can go on and just rant for an hour. Play until you're 50, Aaron Rodgers.
Who's that televangelist that like the really I can't remember his name, but yeah, I could see that being on that channel.
Right. Yeah. I don't want to go through all those, but anyway, this makes sense because like Aaron Rodgers shows up and plays like sort of an old quarterback that still knows what he's doing. That should be the second place team. Dolphins are very. You talked about the Bengals, like this is it with this team. This is it with this Dolphins team.
Oh, absolutely.
Right. And the Bengals got to the Super Bowl. The Dolphins were like, hey, we were a wild card. That was kind of exciting.
We were a wild card team 2 years in a row. That's all.
Right. So, and I don't know if they have that sense of urgency. If you tell me that the Bengals, that Burrow and Chase and these guys are going to say we have urgency, I don't know if the Dolphins have those guys, or Tyreek's going to be popping off on whatever Heat Pop podcast. Anyway, I'm not unhappy with these choices here. I think
the Dolphins are 2-20 in their last, or 2-21, I believe, in their last 23 games and games played under 50 degrees. Like that's not good. And when in an AFC, when you're going to have to go to Arrowhead or to Cincinnati or Baltimore or Buffalo, like I just can't take you seriously in that case. And with a quarterback who can work with the McDaniel system, but is incredibly limited if you need him to create off script, like they can be a fun regular season team again, which they very well may be, but I just don't take Miami seriously.
Yeah, they don't downshift into normal football mode particularly well. When they're not playing NFL blitz, you see that. And I guess one thing I didn't do, I've been hiding from the schedule release. I looked at the Eagles schedule so I know what weeks I'll be going to the bar, what weeks I'll be hiding at home.
Sure.
Like when you look at the schedule, I guess, what do we see in terms of, I'm pulling it up right now, the Dolphins late in the year at New York, at Cleveland. Those are 2 cold weather games.
Yep.
December 29th.
Especially the Cleveland game, when it's going to be weird as hell. It's going to be windy with Erie going crazy, probably some sort of snowstorm at some point. That'll be fun.
Right. No, I see it. I see them finishing in 3rd place as a result of that.
So you're a big go-to bar guy to watch games.
Yeah, because the bar I go to, bartender, some of the other guys, we've all known each other for many years. Make sure that it's not all Eagles right in front of me, that they have like a variety of games. Sometimes I get my choice of the games that I see. And that way for the 1 o'clocks, I can see about 4 or 5 games at once, write about them right away.
Okay, that makes sense. Yeah.
Right. And then for the 4 o'clocks, then I have to go in and go to NFL Plus and stuff like that. But I like doing that. But if it's like Eagles Cowboys is never 1 o'clock on a
No.
day. But like if it were, I would go in and I'd have to hear, look, every TV has to be on the Eagles, and then I have to sort of either go to a different bar or come home and get my configuration here. I didn't do the YouTube thing last year where you could do a dish. I didn't even do that.
Oh, really?
Really, because
that's impressive.
Like, yeah, well, I mean, I could wait. Like, the 4 o'clock game, I'm going to miss it. The 4 o'clock game is on NFL Plus by about 8:30 at night.
Oh, okay. So you have there's other resources you can use. There's plenty of ones that I use too. I'm not going to discreet those because I don't want them to get taken away.
Oh, no, yeah. Don't talk about that. I don't do that. Yeah.
I do that plenty. I don't care. It ain't I'm not doing it. So
too much downloading of anime from VPNs in this house for like me to start like doing that. No, but I like on the bar, and the other guys will be like, fourth quarter, 4th and 4 over there. So I turn and I see the pivotal play, which
nice.
you wouldn't get necessarily if you're trying to watch it off of what do you call it? The thing where they're bouncing from game to game.
Red zone.
Red zone, yeah.
I'm pretty much a hermit when I watch games. Like I like to watch it alone. Like when I was in college and everything, even like when I was starting my career, it was fun to be with people. But now I'm just like, look, leave me alone. Let me do this. And like a few other people, that's fine, who like actually like know what they're watching and everything. But it's just like a casual person. It's like, oh my god, I sound so high and mighty when I say that, and I don't mean to. But
if you're trying to do super analysis, sitting at the bar doesn't work. But when I started doing Monday reviews, of all Sunday's action, I needed as much information as I could coming in.
Yes, that's fair.
Right, and it's like for the 1 o'clocks, they all come in. I've seen them all. I know the storylines of all of them.
Yeah,
I can drill down into the ones I'm watching. In the past, like they would actually, Bleacher Report would send me to a game, and guaranteed that would be like the 23-0 game where nothing happened. Oh. And meanwhile, some other part of the country, it's 42-41. Both quarterbacks got hurt, et cetera, et cetera. That's like, well, Mike, how come you didn't get like right on top of that? And it's like, you sent me to Eagles Jets. What did you think?
That's funny. But all right, we can go to the AFC South. That's another one where I'm very much in the air about the top 3, even like all 4 teams, because the Titans, they've tipped the cap to them. They're going to find out if Will Levis is the guy one way or the other, where they're like, we're going to give you as much as we can, and if you stink, well, we'll know. So Texans, Colts, Jaguars, I can really see those going a multitude of ways. I don't see the Texans finishing less than second place, though. CJ Stroud's a dude. They got a good coach in D'Amico Ryans.
Yeah.
And now a really nice trio of weapons. I think they'll win the division again, be the 3 seed in the AFC. The Colts were within a throw of making the playoffs last year with Gardner Minshew as their quarterback. I think if Anthony Richardson is anywhere near his potential, that's going to be a very fun team to watch. I have them as the 6th seed in the AFC playoffs, and then Jacksonville right outside, probably like the first team looking in, like maybe the number 8 team in the AFC, followed by Tennessee, who again could see them surprising a lot of people if Will Levis ends up being good. I know how you feel about Will Levis, so that'll probably fill in your thoughts on Tennessee.
Yeah, no, and I mean, I'm not a big Will Levis believer. I do like, they just add Boyd to Hopkins. They put together a pretty good thing around him at this point. So we'll get a good read on him. Let's put it that way. These are good enough receivers. And Ridley, of course, is there. So my old man brain was struggling with him. Texans number 1. I think that's a done deal. I was just sneaking a peek at Aaron Schatz's work. Yeah, they're at the top. There's no analytics stat saying, well, they'll drop off because Stroud was this or that. No, there's no plan for drop off. Stroud is for real, and this is going to be it.
Right.
And in between, the Colts had this really quiet off season, but they did extend their guys.
Mm-hmm.
It was this, we're building this thing, and it's like, what are you building? Are you building another one of your 10-7, success stories here, or not? But then I look at the Jaguars, and the Jaguars fell off so damn bad last year.
Oh man, yeah.
And their offseason was all over the place,
That's what happens, I guess, when Trent Baalke's your general manager, and in charge of those decisions. They had to let go of a bunch of guys to be able to afford paying Josh Allen. But yeah, it's good that they pay Josh Allen. Josh Allen's a very good edge rusher. They take care of him and everything. But it seemed that they planned on Calvin Ridley taking less money, and he did not. Obviously, the Titans just gave him the farm.
Yeah.
So then you have to, okay, we'll draft Brian Thomas Jr. We'll sign Gabe Davis.
Yeah.
They're putting way too much pressure on Trevor Lawrence to be the end-all be-all. And while I like Trevor Lawrence, and I think that the slander thrown his way this offseason has been very much overstated.
What happened?
He got hurt.
I mean, no, what did I miss that he's bad now? What did I miss?
Everybody just looks at the raw statistics and how they ended the year last year. But you also got to remember, he was dealing with a highly sprained ankle that I don't know what Tony Khan put him on. Whatever he puts his wrestlers on to make sure that they can fight, he was dosing. Here, Trevor, take that. You can't feel a thing. If I hit you in the knee with a baseball bat, you'll be fine. So he was dealing with the ankle. I think he was dealing with a shoulder at some point too at the end of the year. Like, he threw 14 picks, but half of them came within the last month of the season when he was beat to hell and still having, being tasked with being the end-all be-all for that team. And their secondary was bad, and it didn't get better in the offseason. So I'm worried about Jacksonville.
Yeah, that it was a mess, and he's out there, and it was similar to the seasons, where Prescott has to throw he threw 2 interceptions at the end of the game. Well, yeah, because it was this insane shootout.
Exactly.
Nothing was going well, and you can see that this is a very good quarterback who's making mistakes because he's pressing, etc. Mm-hmm. But yeah, Trevor Lawrence, what happened to him? Like, what do you mean what happened to him? Sometimes guys have 3 or 4 bad games when the situation around them sucks. What are you even talking about?
The first game that he played with the sprained ankle, he suffered the sprained ankle against Cincinnati on Monday night, and then played the next week against the Browns. He threw 3 picks in that game, and it was still a game that they only lost by 1 possession. Like, they were still in it at the end.
And the Browns have the best defense in the world, and their offense was completely coming unglued. I've seen Doug Peterson offenses come unglued.
Sure.
Yeah, it happens because, practice gets done a little early because it's time to go get an ice cream or whatever. And, that's something that I think they have to solve systemically there a little bit. But for now, I would put the Jaguars in front of the Colts, but that's very provisional.
Yeah, that's something that I could see, like, if the situations were flipped, like if the Jaguars end up being a playoff team and the Colts don't, not going to surprise me too much. I think Lawrence is terrific. Hopefully they just lean into more of what he does well, which is let it fly and take. And I think that's what they seem to be going towards. You get a guy like Gabe Davis, who is the definition of I'll go straight down the field, just kind of throw it up and see if I catch it.
Right.
Ryan Thomas, something similar. So I think that we'll see. Trevor, he's fine. He's fine, everybody. Okay. I'm actually gonna write something about Trevor Lawrence here in the next few days because I'm tired of seeing all that type of conversation.
Yeah, I was stunned by it because I thought everyone else was on the same page. Like, a little bit of a step back because of injuries and the confusion around him. I'll give you one other thing before we leave this division from hell. Jaguars. I was looking this up yesterday. They spent $309 million in the offseason on free agency. Led the league, $309 million. On where did the money go?
I couldn't tell you more than 2 people who they've signed. I know that they brought back Josh Allen. They brought in Gabe Davis. Mm-hmm. Yeah, where did that'd be a fun little game to play with myself later to see who the hell else they brought in.
Where did the money go? Yeah, some of it was re-signings, and of course that's good. But it's a lot of money to keep the core nucleus of your 8 and 9, whatever they finished team intact.
It's crazy because they finished 9-8 last year. They were 8-3 at one point, and the top seed in the AFC after 12 weeks. Tremendous fall off. AFC West, no shockers here, I would say. Yeah, the Chiefs I think will be great again as they usually are, and then we'll see with Harbaugh and the Chargers. I like the hiring of Harbaugh. I don't like the subsequent hire of I'm going to hire my buddy Greg Roman, as I've done everywhere I've gone for the most part. And Greg Roman's just going to be like, hey, let's sign Gus Edwards and J.K. Dobbins, all of my former Ravens running backs. What could go wrong? I'm skeptical about that. I think that Harbaugh's a good enough CEO type coach where they'll still be hovering around 8 or 9 wins. Mm-hmm. But that I'm concerned about the Roman hire. They still got defensive problems to fix. The Raiders, I think they'll be 6-11 maybe. And they got 2 bad quarterbacks. Mm-hmm. A really nice defensive player in Max Crosby, but not a ton of star power. I think the Broncos are a tire fire. That is By the way, I'm tired of hearing about the Sean Payton bump. There are plenty of Drew Brees, Sean Payton teams that went 7-9. There's no such thing as a Sean Payton bump.
Right.
Let's stop with that. And your quarterbacks, Bo Nix or Zach Wilson, have a good year. I think they're going to be bad.
He gets a bump, but somehow Harbaugh doesn't get a bump. Yeah. And another team that's like, hey, you know what we didn't do? We didn't hire like the retread who know it all, Mr. Let me wrap the media around my finger guy. Which is what Harbaugh is. Like, come on, look at my trailer. Like, come on.
Yeah, but I'm not. I think the entire luster and shine for Jim Harbaugh wore off for me in like 2016. I've been very much. Remember, everything was like talking about. Oh, look at his khakis. Like, who cares? Why are we talking about this man's pants? I've been very much over him for a long time.
Yeah, and for these, I have to write this division for the almanac,
and
I saved the Chiefs for last because you got to get like elegiac about dynasties and things like that. I have to be in the mood for it. And the other three, I'm just looking at it, and it was just like, what do I write about these teams? And it's like Guru 1, Guru 2, and then the team that just got done 7 years of gurus.
Yeah,
and said, we're done with this. Linebackers coach, run us. Random kid from Purdue, you're our quarterback. Let's screw it. Let's just play football for a while and not like be beholden to like the grand man of football coming down to explain to us how it's done. So, I see like 3 6-win teams and a dynasty champion. This is like the old
AFC East.
Yeah, that's what this is.
And by the way, I can applaud the Raiders to some degree for saying, okay, to hell with all these gurus. They all stink. We'll just let the guy who everybody in the locker room wants to be the head coach be the head coach.
Yeah.
So I can applaud that to some degree.
Yeah, go coach yourselves, guys. The thing is, I don't think it's going to work, at least not in the
I don't think it's going to work. But neither did Gruden, neither did, Josh McDaniels. Right. So it can't be too much worse than that, I wouldn't think.
Right. If there was if Joe Burrow was the quarterback, like, yeah, we're running ourselves. And take care of it. But I don't know if Aiden O'Connell and Gardner Minshew are that combination to like take that kind of leadership.
I think when Gardner Minshew retires, he and Jake Plummer should start a podcast about mushrooms.
Oh my God. Oh my God. I met Jake Plummer years and years ago, and we talked about a lot of topics. And, mushrooms was one of them. Cannabis was one of them.
I'm sure it was.
That was actually the point of the conversation because that's what we were doing the feature on. But like he started talking about the mushrooms. I'm like, really? He's a visionary. This was like 10 years ago. And I was like, dude, my Facebook wants me to buy like mushroom infused non-alcoholic gin so badly.
That's tremendous.
We're trying to get all the middle-aged people just actually tripping. In the past, Facebook had us all like just emotionally tripping.
Mm-hmm.
Now they just want us tripping.
Hey, you know what? Good for Jake Plummer, the human flip flop. Yeah, that is a guy who knew what he was talking about and got it done. So in totality, with the AFC, before we move on to the NFC, this is what I have it looking like come playoff time, and I'll give you the records here. So the Chiefs 14-3. I think that's just going to be the Colts in the mid 2000s, the Patriots in the mid 2000s. They're just going to win a ton of games. The Bengals at 13-4. I know you're hesitant about that. Maybe I'll end up being 13-4 too. Who knows? Yeah, we'll see. The Texans at 12-5. The Bills at 12-5. The Jets at 11-6. The Colts and Steelers both at 10-7. And then the teams right on the outside looking in are the Browns, the Ravens, the Jaguars, and the Chargers, who I have going 9-8. We'll see if that blows up in my face.
I just shut off my DraftKings. Otherwise, I'd say what the big plays are. Folks, you can do that at home.
Here, don't worry. I've got win total projections right here in front of you, actually. So
okay.
So for the Chiefs, they are 11.5, which is probably the max that you're going to get for over/under totals.
I'd feel comfortable going over that. I'd go over that.
Yeah, absolutely. The Bengals are 10.5.
That's so high.
It's pretty high. Pretty high. Texans are 9.5. I'm very comfortable going over that.
Go over.
Yes.
Take it. Enjoy it. Have fun with
Buffalo's also 10.5.
That's right on the number for me.
Yeah.
How tough their schedule is. They're not going to come out of that division with any easy wins. Even the Patriots for them are not going to be an easy win. There's mojo.
Sure. The Jets are at 9.5.
Don't bet the Jets. Don't bet. Yeah. Just stay away from it.
That is one thing that I'll agree with. Is never ever bet the Jets. The Colts and Jaguars, for that matter, are both sitting at 8.5.
It's like right on the number.
And then the Steelers, if I can find them, are at 7.5.
7.5. That's in the neighborhood of the projections for them. So in terms of this, again, I feel like the Bengals are too high. If you move the Texans up to 2, and like I'd feel more comfortable with the Ravens and the Bills in the 3-4 range, somewhere in there. And yeah, I'm comfortable with the Colts where they are, and the number 7, you can call that the Steelers. You could call that the Bengals and then the Steelers are one of the teams looking out. That's probably how I would have it right now.
That's fine. I feel like I had to take like some sort of shot because there's always like 1 or 2 teams that everybody thinks is going to be good and end up falling off. There's always like 1 or 2 teams that everybody thinks will stink and end up surprising. So, I factored that in as well.
So hard in the AFC. All 3
definitely.
In the West, you can't build a good argument for any of those teams in the West. So you're left with like, oh, the Bengals are surprised. They're not that surprising. They were in the Super Bowl 2 years ago.
Yeah.
Got to do something right.
All right. Now the NFC, I felt much more confident in because the NFC is, a little bit thinner, more top heavy. Yeah. So we'll start off with the NFC North. I think the Packers are going to be awesome this year. I think that Jordan Love is very similar to CJ Stroud. That's you got a dude. And looking at their schedule, I feel pretty confident have them being not just really good. I think they'll be the top seed in the NFC. There's my NFC shot call. Okay. Second place with the Lions, I think they'll be the top wildcard team. I think the Packers and Lions could finish with the same record, and it'll just go down to tiebreakers as to who will win the division. Mm-hmm. I like the Bears. I think that they've had a nice offseason. I like what they've done defensively as well. Like quietly, they have guys at each level that I like. Like Montez Sweat's good. I like Tremaine Edmonds. I really like Jalen Johnson, Jaquan Brisker. I think that could be a fun younger unit. And they've surrounded Caleb Williams with 3 quality receivers with DJ Moore, Keenan Allen, and then drafting Rome Odunze. I like Chicago. I think that in a top-heavy NFC, if Caleb Williams ends up being, worthy of his draft selection, that they could be a sneaky wildcard team at like 9 wins. And then Minnesota, I know that our buddy Thor Nystrom really likes JJ McCarthy. I don't. I just don't think Minnesota's going to be. They still have a lot of some patchwork on the defensive side of the ball. They lost a lot of guys on that side of the ball this offseason. I love Brian Flores, and I love that he took the Wink Martindale of blitz or death and just cranked it up to 1,000. So I can appreciate a man who lives and dies by who he is.
Yeah.
But I don't know. I think that year 1 of JJ McCarthy and Sam Darnold, I don't have high hopes for that. So they'll finish 4th.
Yeah, and I agree. I was looking at the projection right now, and the projection system, Aaron Schatz's FTN network, hates the Bears.
Oh, really?
And is lukewarm about the Vikings, like hovering in the low 500, just under 500 range. And I see it flipped. Again, I see the same things you see with the Bears. Like, goodness gracious, this receiving core, it's like Tua is jealous of this receiving core. Purdy is jealous of this receiving core. It's like very multifaceted. Yeah. Williams should be able to get out there, get the ball to these guys. These guys should be open. It's not a disastrous offensive line. There's been some work in there, and this could be a shootout team. And the Vikings, I wouldn't say I know they lost guys. They kind of shuffled guys because Fleury's brought in some of his guys from the Dolphins. Like more of a system fit type of thing, where if he's going to be things where there's 9 guys at the line and the last minute, 2 of them go back into coverage and everyone else goes. I guess the other thing is, I loved what I saw from Jordan Love there. The Lions are really, really strong.
Lions are really good.
They had one major problem, which was their secondary. They fixed that, or tried to fix it. Who knows? Somebody could be on a high-speed chase as we speak right now. And I was looking at, not to just drop that and go, I'm looking at the projections and what the DVOA suggests the Packers offense will still be very good. Well, might even take that step forward. Defense is still lagging behind. Special teams is potentially an issue for this team who's, are they still going with, I don't know what their kicker situation is, et cetera.
I don't know. I've talked too much about kickers this week, so I'm tired of talking about them.
Why'd you talk about kickers? What'd you have going on?
Oh, not necessarily even the football side of it. It's just, a certain guy from Kansas City talked about.
Jesus.
Yeah. So I've given my opinion on that enough. I don't know. I think that Green Bay, they brought in, had trouble in the secondary last year, as you mentioned. They brought over Xavier McKinney and gave him a big money deal, so I think that'll be a nice upgrade for them. I really like Jordan Love, man. Like there's just something like I don't know, there's a confident arrogance that he has when he throws the ball that really just gets my nips hard. I don't know what it is, but it really does it for me. I love watching him play football. Yeah.
JJ McCarthy does nothing for the nips.
No, that doesn't make Daddy Magic's nipples hard. No, that's the nipples are fully flaccid nips when I watch JJ McCarthy. Nothing fun
Daddy
there.
Harbaugh's nips. Behind that polyester polo shirt with the khakis.
Welcome to the Pump Fake After Dark.
I mean, I loved watching Jordan Love, especially in the second half of the year when it was good.
Yeah.
For me to worry about, it was so suddenly amazing, so fast that like it doesn't reflect in like the projection system. But I see like this is going to settle a little bit. There were a lot of magical throws in there.
I think that he's a magical thrower, Mike Tanier. I think that he just has it. I think a lot of it too is that, I mean, they're the youngest team in the NFL last year. They have the youngest core of weapons. Like you'll get Jaden Reed, Dontavian Wicks, Christian Watson, Romeo Dobbs. These are all first, second year guys, along with a first year quarterback trying to figure it all out together. Somehow they did, and it's a credit to Matt LaFleur, and very evident that he's not just okay, I've got Aaron Rodgers as my quarterback, so I win 12 games a year. That's a good head coach, and I think that they are going to, if not for some questionable, I guess, Jordan Love looking like a first-year starter in the fourth quarter against San Francisco, they probably make it to the NFC title game. Like they were very close to doing so, and even with the mistakes, they were still very close. So that's a team that I'm going to be having my eyes on all season. It's going to be very fun to watch. The NFC East, your Philadelphia Eagles, I think, will win the division. I think that Dallas just misses out the playoffs altogether. They've done absolutely nothing this offseason to make themselves better. And this just feels like that time, similar to like Green Bay in the last year of Mike McCarthy, where everybody's just pissed off. Everything's imploding. Dak Prescott wants paid. CeeDee Lamb wants paid. Micah Parsons wants paid. I think that Dak Prescott's going to be playing elsewhere in 2025. And all of that outside noise is just going to be too much to handle. And like quietly, like I just don't love their roster. Like they're very top heavy. Another top heavy team to me where like Dak's good. CeeDee Lamb's obviously very good. Micah Parsons is good. Trayvon Diggs is, I think, good, but not as good as people think he is just because he had a ton of picks a couple years ago. I just don't love the roster. I don't love all of this outside noise. You or I could play running back for them right now if we wanted to. So I think that Dallas just has one of those years where everything falls apart. Somebody else is going to be in charge of that team next year, and it is what it is. And I think the Commanders and Giants are both really, really bad. Yeah,
and in the right order there. The Giants, I'm familiar with their projection, and they have one of the lowest projections in the NFL. Commanders have all these veterans they brought in and a rookie quarterback. That'll get them around 7 wins, like somewhere in there. The Cowboys, I see what you're saying. I like the analogy of the last years of Mike McCarthy in Green Bay, where it is like we're just done here.
Yeah,
but we have one more year to play, and like Jerry is really playing into that. And then I had to do the projections, and I had to look at them, and the realization is the projections don't know that nobody has gotten paid, and that Jerry is making these sort of angry grandpa remarks about having the price of groceries is where Jerry Jones is at right now. CeeDee Lamb in this economy, like that's the kind of stuff he's saying. And so the projection system says, okay, you have the runner-up MVP and Dak Prescott at quarterback. Yeah. You have the runner-up DPOY, Defensive Player of the Year, in Micah.
Yeah, I think he was second. Yeah.
Yeah, you have the reception leader in CeeDee Lamb. You have Diggs coming back, and Deron Bland, who had like 8 interceptions last year.
Oh yeah, Deron Bland had like as many pick sixes as Kenny Pickett had touchdown passes last year. That was pretty impressive. That was something to behold.
Right, would have been his leading receiver on each other a few times.
I mean, hell, he might be this year if Jalen Hurts gets hurt. It might be Kenny Pickett's leading receiver. We'll see.
Right, and I look at him and Diggs and be like, okay, the pass rush gets home, and these guys get these like cherry pick interceptions, but pass rush still has Micah. Pass rush still has Tank.
Yeah,
and now they have these 2 guys out there right now. And
so many of those interceptions too, man. We're just like you said, like we're like, oh crap throws, and then Sam Howell threw up a pop fly to center field that one of them caught.
Yeah, Yeah, and so, but now it'll be Jaden Daniels, so it'll be a rookie. It'll still be Daniel Jones throwing some of those pop flies, etc.
By the way, we're in what, year 6 of Daniel Jones? What are we doing, New York? And then they're like, all right, you know what? We'll bring him in. We'll bring in Drew Lock. That'll put a fire under his ass. I think Drew Lock might just win the job. I just think Daniel Jones is really, really bad.
But Drew Lock is worse, though. Drew Lock is like, you give the mushroom, the magic mushroom vodka to Daniel Jones, and you get Drew Lock. Drew Lock looked good in the fourth quarter against the Eagles when James Bradbury burst into flames. That was like the one time in the last 3 years that Drew Lock looked like an NFL quarterback. But so, you know, the projection system loves the Cowboys, and the projection system is lukewarm about the Eagles. And the reason why is because if you take the average of the 11-1 Eagles that everyone thought was a little overrated, and the and purgatory Eagles of the end of the season, and you average them because you're doing statistical analysis, you get a 500 team.
Right.
And so the projection system's looking and saying, okay, you got 500 team, and you made some changes, which are good. But you also had to flip your coordinators. Fangio is good. Kellen Moore and Sirianni are going to be like this to a degree. You lost your Hall of Fame center.
Yeah, sure did.
So, I mean, I'm going to lean. I'm not going to stick with Aaron's projections. I'm going to go with chalk with what you got here. But that's the rationale for when the FTN Almanac comes out and you read by chapters. And I'm working with Aaron in terms of like what we see statistically. And say, well, the Cowboys, despite negligence, are still really good. And the Eagles are really churning to get back to where they were 2 years ago.
At what point in the season, like, what would have to happen for like Vic Fangio to just stab Nick Sirianni? Like, is that going to be something we talk about happening this year, where there's just like he just shivs him?
I don't know. I mean, last year, Darius Slay was going to shiv Patricia. Yeah. So I think they'll all get along to the degree that it's going to be Sirianni and Moore, where Kellen Moore's going to be like, let's have 10 other guys in motion. And you know, Sirianni's like, geez, it'd be nice if we were static. So Hurts can just look and call an RPO and what we used to do there. And I don't know how that's going to look.
Well, we're going to find out.
Yeah.
In the NFC South, the Atlanta Kirk Cousins finishing 4th in the NFC and winning the division. Tampa Bay, tipping my cap to Baker Mayfield because I definitely clowned him a lot around this time last year, and he played well and got himself a lot of money. I think that losing Dave Canales is going to definitely hurt them, though. And I think it'll help Bryce Young and the Panthers. I don't think they're going to be anything special, but I think they can win 5 or 6 games with the new weapons that they have for Bryce Young. I think having a singular voice in his ear is going to be much better than, all the cooks in the kitchen that were there last year. And then New Orleans, you can't pay me to talk about the New Orleans Saints. I think that might be the most boring team in football. Like, I don't care about Derek Carr. I don't care that you brought in Willie Gay and Chase Young. There is nothing exciting about even their head. Like, Dennis Allen is like a human glass of tap water. There is nothing exciting about the New Orleans Saints at all. That's how I have the NFC South going.
Who's a coordinator right now?
Dude, I was going to ask you that question. I know Gruden came in to help at one point. I don't know who it is. Let's play. All right,
this game. Gruden comes in to help, and then Kirk Cousins goes to visit. Oh God, it's Clint Kubiak.
Is it?
Yeah, he's actually not bad.
Yeah, Clint Kubiak's all right.
Fine.
Yeah, that's fine. Shanahan tree guy. That's fine. Cool.
Yeah, and his dad tree also.
Yeah, that too. Shout out Gary.
The projection system doesn't like the Falcons, and I find that hilarious.
Interesting.
Doesn't like their defense.
Oh, what? I like their defense. I think their defense is okay.
You like their pass rusher?
I didn't say I like the entire defense.
You like their safety. I like their safety.
Jesse Bates kicks ass. Yeah, they were 5th in the NFL last year in defensive success rate. Like, they were quietly in certain metrics like pretty solid.
And look who they played every week. Look who they played every week. Look at the rest of those freaking teams there. And that's why, like, when you start doing opponent adjustments, they look great against the Panthers.
Sure, that's fair.
Yeah, but
I wonder what they did rank in adjusted defensive DVOA. That might be a little.
I have it somewhere. Of course, obviously, I have it somewhere.
Right.
It's low, and I don't want to give the projection right now.
Sure.
But the adjustments took down back to earth to a degree what their defense looked like. And that goes for all 4 teams. Like for years, the Saints, look at the Saints defense. It's like they're facing the Panthers. They're facing Desmond Ritter and Arthur Smith's Flying Circus and things like that. But you know what? I'm comfortable with the Falcons first because, my God, this division.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, it's not great.
Yeah.
And it's like choosing, the tallest little person. Like, yeah, sure, you won, but it's not as if you're,
I think the tallest little person is Bryce Young.
Yeah. Yeah. Poor Bryce Young. I hope he does well. I'd like to think that he'll do well.
Yeah, and I hope he does well. The Panthers, I was like very much clowning on them at the very start of free agency when they just let everybody walk out the door. And they've been bringing in guys. I think they drafted okay. That's fine. I'm cool with the Saints at 4 at this point. I know the projections better on them. You got a bunch of guys who are like 34 years old that are still playing at this high level. One little injury rash, this was the year they fall off, and that team's done.
Yeah, they have Cam Jordan, Tyrann Mathieu. Like if this is 2017, that defense rules.
DeMario, Davis.
Yeah, like they are just the over the hill gang, the modern version of the over the hill gang.
Gang. Yeah, on offense, like Ryan Ramczyk has been like their right tackle for years, and they had to draft to replace him because it looks like he's got some kind of degenerative condition.
Sure.
Derek Carr ain't exactly in his prime, and he ain't exactly good. Alvin Kamara had a kind of a miserable year last year, but he got 6 million touches, so his fantasy production look okay.
Right.
They're a team. I mean, I could see them 9-8, and they have won this division. I could also very easily see 3-14 and GM fired. And
yeah, I think that this is Dennis Allen and I think Brian Dable are going to be in a race to see who gets fired first mid-season. And then when that does happen, who's the Saints backup right now? Do we know?
Saint backup.
Is it Jake Haener?
Jake Haener. They drafted.
It's Spencer Rattler. Yeah. Oh, come on, man. Week 9, they're 2-7. Dennis Allen gets fired. All right. Kubiak, I want to play Spencer Rattler. Get Derek Carr out of here. Let's at least see what we have.
That'll be entertaining.
Can you? Oh, I would kill to be a fly on the wall of a quarterback room of Derek Carr and Spencer Rattler.
And Jake Haener was he's not a good prospect, but if he gets into a game, he's got that Gardner Minshew thing where he's a character falling and flicks at the ball and it's a 30-yard completion.
Now, I watched enough Jake Haener at the Senior Bowl last year where I'm like, nope, I'm good. No, I don't need to see any more of that.
There was nothing good at that Senior Bowl. I remember. Yeah,
absolutely not. Oh, you and I were just standing there, just watching him and Jaron Hall. Just like, what are we doing here? This is not great. Yeah, the NFC South is just a hodgepodge of not fun. All right. To the NFC West, which is much more fun. I think the 49ers, they're the 49ers. I think that there's a sense of urgency with them too because, either Brandon Ayuk or Debo isn't going to be there next year. It's very evident you're planning on moving one of them. I think that'll be Debo Samuel. They're going to get a deal done with Brandon Ayuk, I would think. Yeah. So this could be, your final year of Debo Samuel, but, eventually you're going to have to pay Brock Purdy. You're not going to be able to pay all your defensive guys forever. So I think that they feel the heat as well as this era of San Francisco 49ers coming to an end and are still going to be in the mid.
Your sound's off, man. Your sound crashed. Ladies and gentlemen, if you're watching live, and I don't know if anyone is, Jared's entire thing has crashed. Jared, if you can hear me, you are frozen. And you are silent. I'm assuming he has editing software, and then this actually goes on YouTube. All of this part will be left off. In the meantime, I will text him and triple check that he realizes that he's frozen. Wait, he's reappearing.
Yeah, see? Do you hear me?
Yeah. Now he's got this William Shatner singing Rocket Man thing where there's different versions of you in different boxes. Yes.
Yeah, I don't. Oh, we're back. We're back on the both places. Let's do it. Okay, the issue is fixed. That's going to be great for our podcast listeners. What was I saying? Oh yeah, the 49ers. I think that they'll feel some sort of sense of urgency when it comes to knowing that this era is kind of coming to a close. With the Rams, I think they're going to be fun again. Stafford played like a top 5 quarterback down the stretch last year. Puka is very good. Cooper Kupp's very good. I'm intrigued to see what they do without both Aaron Donald and without Raheem Morris, who is now in Atlanta as their head coach. The defense does worry me a little bit with Los Angeles, but I think these are the 2 definitive top 2 teams in the division.
Right. Yeah, and that's a similar thing to from a projection standpoint. Eagles fans are like, "Oh man, Kelsey, we love you, Jason Kelsey. Thank you very much. Oh, we've got the replacement on the roster. We're fine." Toodaloo, heartfelt speech. And the projection system is you just lost a Hall of Famer.
Sure.
Rams fans are kind of in that same place. Like Aaron Donald, a tremendous leader, everything. We left with respect and honor. And, we can overcome that. It's like, no, you just lost, probably the defensive player of your generation. No argument about the 49ers. I guess we'll talk about them with the seedings. Worst projection in the NFL for the FTN Almanac as of now, as of May, whatever, these might change, is the Arizona Cardinals.
Oh, wow.
Worst projection. I haven't done like a lot of deep dive on this Cardinals team. So I don't know where that's coming from, but I knew I
think a lot of it is just an incredibly young defense where they still have a ton of holes to plug.
Yeah. And it's like a big, strong rookie class, and you have to like project all these rookies. And you got to be careful. You're making like a 2025 projection because you like these guys, not a realistic 2024 projection.
At bare minimum, their offense will be fun. Like I'm excited to watch Kyler throw the ball to Marvin Harrison. I think that'll be exciting. James Conner will somehow end up with like 19 touchdowns on 30 touches or something like that, where they just feed him the ball inside the 5.
Connor's a heck of a player. It's Marvin Harrison, Michael Wilson, and Greg Dortch.
Yeah. Oh, Trey McBride as well at tight end. A lot of people enjoy themselves some Trey McBride.
Yeah, he's good. Offensive line, it looks like it's something that could come together. I see Jonah Williams is now penciled in. Paris Johnson, I think, was coming around last year. I don't see a lot there. I see all the youth on defense and say this could be. Let's talk in terms of getting to 2025. I don't see them as like a 5-win team. But I think the Seahawks suffer a little bit from nobody's talking about them because they're just kind of boring in there, and there's a coaching change, and they have the roster of an 8-9 win team, and I can see them landing there.
Yeah, the thing with Seattle for me is like they just feel like a team in transition. Like they saw some vets walk out the door. Obviously, the coaching change from Pete Carroll to Mike McDonald. I like McDonald, especially as a defensive mind, obviously. I do think that it'll take a year, and I think that he's going to try to build the team that he wants as compared to the team that he's taking over. So, and, the quarterback stuff, like how good is Geno going to be in year 3 as a starter? Is eventually this thing going to just kind of fall off a little bit for an aging guy who came up very late in his career? We'll see. Maybe we'll see Sam Howell at some point. He's there now.
He's there now. By the way, I saw that the strength of schedule was really rough for the Cardinals, so I pulled it up here. And of course, you went through all these things. Opens up at Bills, then Rams, then Lions.
That's probably an 0-3 start.
Then Commanders, then at 49ers. That's a 1-4 start, even if they're like a half decent team.
Yeah.
At Packers, which is a team you have high. That's potentially. Yeah, we're looking at sort of 1-5 before things get a little more manageable there. And that could, sort of be a KO, not for the Gannon era or whatever, but like,
oh, sure,
that's could put them in a position where it's just going to be hard for them to dig out and get themselves into, position to get to whatever you think in there, like 7 wins.
Yeah. And we saw it last year, especially with Arizona, where, Dallas is coming to town. They're going to trample them, and then the Cardinals win. So, I mean, they might have one of those first 3 matchups. We'll see. But I think that both them and Seattle will have around 6-ish wins.
All right.
But yeah, the 49ers and the Rams are the definitive top 2. So the overall NFC playoff picture looks like this for me. Green Bay at the 1, and then your wild card week, and the 49ers hosting the Bears. I'd watch that. Eagles, Rams, and then Falcons, Lions as the wild card game. So that's my projected NFC playoff picture as of May 17th.
Okay. I put the Niners 1. Projections are going to put the Niners at 1.
I'm sure that they will.
But I like what you did there in terms of, the Packers are the team on the rise, and let's really reflect that. And don't just say they're on the rise, put them, at or near the top.
Yeah, like when the Chiefs won their first Super Bowl, like the Titans were the 1 seed that year. Like, sometimes things happen.
Right. Things like that happen, absolutely. But I mean, right now on May 15th, 17th, whatever this is, but the Niners won. Then I would then flip the Packers and Lions. I'd feel more comfortable with that with the Lions at 2, Eagles 3, Falcons 4, and then the Packers in there. I guess my one concern is what we were talking about. There's not a lot of surprises in here. I guess the Bears at 7 is a surprise. I don't hate that.
Yeah.
I don't hate that at all, though.
The entire, ever since 1990, there's been at least 4 new playoff teams. So I very much took that into consideration, obviously. So I guess the new ones that I have are the Bears, the Bengals, the Jets, and the Colts. So that's 4 in total. And the Falcons, that's 5. So I got 5.
The Bears are the ones that's like, well, that's sort of like out from nowhere, not like
yeah.
The Super Bowl from 2 years ago and the quarterback got hurt. I'm looking at our projection system. The team that it likes that you say, well, wow, I'm surprised they like that is the Saints, and I just can't.
I cannot get behind that, man. I can't.
I just can't.
That's a lame duck head coach, a lame duck quarterback, a lame duck roster full of old dudes. I just don't see that coming.
I guarantee you, I'm just going to look. It loves the schedule, right? It loves the strength of schedule. Second easiest schedule in the NFL. Let me pull the Saints schedule up because
this will be fun.
Yeah, this is fun. And this made us money last year. This made me money because one of these teams had a terrible projection.
Mm-hmm.
And it's like, well, if you look at the schedule, there's 7 wins, and it might have been the Saints. They open with Panthers, then Cowboys, Eagles, Falcons, Chiefs. Oh, my God. What am I looking at here?
That doesn't sound all that easy to me.
It doesn't sound easy. Now, you do get Giants, Commanders, Chargers, Broncos, Raiders.
That's a nice 5-game stretch where you can win 3 of those.
Win 3 or 4 of those games. And then you start saying, well, if you split your Panthers and then you split your Bucks.
Yep.
Yeah. I still don't see.
I don't see what. Hold on. What's
if I'm getting to 7, I see it. You get me to 7, and I see it in a heartbeat.
Sure. Let me.
If you're trying to get me to like 9.5, I think you like, holy cow.
Let me pull up what their win total is.
Yeah, and like you were saying, is with that opening schedule, it could be 0-4, and coordinators getting fired early.
Absolutely. Yeah.
Right.
Okay, it's loading in right now.
Yes.
Gotta love that.
Live theater of the month.
Yep. This is live podcasting, everybody. We'll see if it loads.
Okay.
But yeah, regardless, I do think I can't get on the Saints train. That's one that I am completely out of. I think I had them at 4-13. I think they're just going to completely implode.
And I can absolutely see that. And it's like really for the last 2 or 3 years, I've anticipated that would happen.
I've been waiting for that.
And Honey Badger has another really great year, and Jordan has another really great year, and like Olave becomes a good ball player, and we didn't quite expect it to be that quick. But one of these times it's just going to crash.
So my projected draft order would be the Giants picking first next year.
Okay, they'd be happy with Arch Manning.
They sure would be. Oh, come on! It's written in the stars, is it not? Another Manning to New York? Of course, it's going to happen. The Commanders at 2, the Saints at 3.
Okay.
Broncos 4, Panthers 5. So that would be the top 5 of the draft order.
I feel like the Commanders dragged themselves out of that by virtue of, I think Daniels is a pretty good ball player. And if you just look at like the sheer bulk of the veterans, and it's like, well, you don't take all these like $6 million zillion dollars worth of veterans and put them in the playoffs, but like they scaffold the team as like, oh, we're going to sweep the Giants because of these guys, and we're going
to and they have brought in some guys, like especially Dan Quinn brought half the Cowboys roster with him,
right?
Especially on like the offensive line.
He was a good ball player. Chin, when healthy, which is seldom, but healthy is a good ball player. Bobby Wagner can still play. He's going to be out there, running around. Their offensive line isn't bad. McLaurin and Dotson isn't a bad receiving core.
Maybe it just comes down to me not thinking Jaden Daniels is going to be a great NFL quarterback. Maybe that's what that comes down to me.
I like him a lot.
Okay.
But he's also one of these guys, I think, when he goes out there as a rookie, and it's like if he's running around causing chaos, that's your positive, at least for the rookie year. And then you say, well, what are we going to build around this?
Maybe that's a team that I'll have to really look at hard the second time around with this. Because, that's fair. Yeah. And love Frankie Louvu. By the way, you can watch the interview I did with Frankie Louvu a couple weeks ago on this channel.
Awesome.
So yeah, They're a team where I don't know. I just feel like I've drank their Kool-Aid too much as of late, and they've done nothing but let me down. So maybe if I stop drinking it, they'll do good.
You were on the Kool-Aid with Carson, which I couldn't.
Oh yeah, I was the last guy on the Carson Wentz train.
Right. And I was trying to warn you, and it's like, well, this guy's just a victim of the bad press, and it's like, as a member of the bad press, I need to tell you that it's not us. It's not us. And yeah, last year, I mean, there were a lot of Sam Howell believers, and I think a lot of us.
I was one. Both myself and Doug Farrar were very big on Sam Howell.
I did not like Doug. I don't know what you see, man. I have no idea what games you watched or whatever, but like
he was leading the NFL in passing yards from like weeks 8 to 11, and me and I was like, I told you, Sam Howell's great.
And he actually had his moments. He was not terrible by any means. Just like I think he did a pretty good job, but overall with what was out there. But by week 8, what it was, the trade deadline, when they trade away Sweat and Young, and it's like, well, it doesn't matter what you do this year. It really reflected on the field.
Sure.
But you know.
And he had multiple games. Like he threw 4 picks on Thanksgiving against Dallas. He threw 4 picks against the Bills in like week 3. So
sack game early, and they get 7 or 8 sacks against some of these early teams. And he beat up on the Broncos when the Broncos were a train wreck early. So it's like, oh, look how he's doing it. And like it was a perfectly good game, but you're playing a team that then gives up 70 points the next week. So, you know.
I forgot about that. They were down by like 3 scores that game, and he prompted a comeback. Good for Sam Howell. We'll see what that turns into.
Yeah.
6 through 10 for the draft is Raiders, Seahawks, Vikings, Titans, Patriots. That's kind of like your 6 win teams there. We'll see when it comes to the Super Bowl. My early prediction will be Bengals, Packers.
Wow.
Yeah, I like Green Bay a lot, and we'll have to see.
That's really good for like having a projection that isn't like 49ers Chiefs. Like if you ask me right now, it's like 49ers Chiefs. And it's like, yeah, who cares? We'll put that on the bin with all the other 49ers Chiefs predictions. But like, you know, do something different. Okay, Lions Ravens. That's not that different. You know, it's everybody's second place team. Put them in there. I like yours because like part of it is you make these predictions, especially on May 17th.
Sure.
To get a conversation rolling about these teams, not to say that you are a genius who can go pick last year's records and the best quarterback of our era and throw them in the soup and be like, look at me, you know?
Exactly. And again, we do 2 of these a year. May 17th, it's going to look a little bit different than, September 6th. So,
yes, it should. It should no more.
Absolutely. Always enjoy doing stuff like this. I always enjoy talking to you. What's you've been doing top 5 quarterbacks of all time for every team over on 2 Deep Zone?
Yeah, I am hiding from the news cycle. I am hiding from idiot, misogynist kickers. I hid from the schedule release. As I said, I checked the Eagles schedule and say, week 5, I'm going to not go to the bar, especially if the Phillies are in the playoffs, etc. And I've been hiding in history. So it was the Steelers yesterday, top 5 quarterbacks in Steelers history yesterday. Not too many surprises at 1 and 2. And earlier in the week, I think it was the Browns earlier in the week, and I got to go back in history a lot. And I'm rolling with this for a while. I'll probably do a little bit of what's happening in the news around mini camps, which is like really 2 weeks away. But next week, I get to do the Houston Texans and top 5 quarterbacks.
Oh, goodness.
Houston Texans history.
All great quarterbacks since 2002.
Yeah.
TJ Yates might make that list. He started a playoff game.
He might be number 5.
That's tremendous. Who else was there? Fitzpatrick was there for a little bit, but wasn't good there. Schaub was fun. Yeah, there's a couple names for Houston.
Deshaun is obviously on the list. I'm not canceling him from my list of quarterbacks. I cancel him from life, but not from the list of quarterbacks. And it's him, and it's Schaub, and it's David Carr.
Obviously, CJ right now. I mean, would you put him in there yet, or is that something that?
And I believe here's a preview. I have CJ Stroud 3rd.
Okay, nice.
And if he has another good year, I might just put him first.
Yeah. Sometimes some things you just don't have to overthink.
I mean, Deshaun had 3 good years, and CJ's year was as good as any Deshaun year.
Yeah. The Browns one was a fun read. Browns have had a fun, interesting history.
Fun to what I really enjoy is when you get like somebody from like the late 70s, 80s, 90s, my childhood, And like their history hasn't been told 1,000 times. It's not like Johnny Unitas where there's like 30 books about him.
Brian Sipe is always a tremendous pool.
He was, and like there was stuff I left on the table. And oh, by the way, and you mentioned it on Twitter, he was name dropped in what was it called?
Slumber Party Massacre.
Slumber Party Massacre, and you mentioned it, and then Roger Corman passed away.
Oh, did I inadvertently cause? Oh, that's so sad. I didn't know that.
A great Roger Corman movie would be about how like random podcasters caused the death of Roger Corman. And that like, you know, we had this sort of kiss of death thing that we were like then doing. And then you'd have to throw some like 70s short bikini girls into it, but then you'd have a hell of a movie. But
yeah, because like Slumber Party Massacre came out in that era of like horror slashers, like right after Halloween, where everybody just had to have, it was either like a holiday or just like hot girls getting killed, and one of them survived. So that was a very fun boom period in the history of horror, where there's, all right, we're gonna watch Halloween, and then we're gonna watch Santa's Sleigh, and then we're gonna watch, you know, Valentine's Day Massacre, followed by Prom Night.
Deadly Friend.
Yeah.
Ever see that one?
Have you seen Sleepaway Camp? Sleepaway Camp is
I don't know that.
Is that what it's called? I think it's what it's called. I don't know. I'll spoil the ending for you. The killer girl ends up being a boy. It's
oh wow.
Yeah, wow. It's a freaky ending. It's pretty good though. I've not. What's the one that you said? I don't think I've seen it.
Deadly Friend. That was from like the mid '80s. I think we're like 2 or 3 years later.
I don't think I've seen
where
that
it's
one.
like it's like fear of friend zoning.
Oh. That'll put some women on high alert.
Yeah, well, I mean, I think she turned out to be a robot anyway, so you know, whatever.
Oh,
so you can't be mad about the theme if the girl turns out to be a robot, because
that's true.
She's not a woman. She's a bot.
Exactly. I've been on a like true crime wave recently. Watch Night Stalker on Netflix. Tremendous watch.
Okay, which one's that?
He was a serial killer in California in the 80s. It's a really good 4-part docuseries. One of the better ones I've watched. I made the mistake though of watching it at like 10:30, so like I was scared at night. me who lives by myself, just like, all right, I don't love the dark, so I'm gonna throw on Family Guy and fall asleep.
That's good. Good call. Yeah, I'm not a true crime guy, and I would not watch it after like nightfall.
Yeah, I haven't really been on the wave either, but lately I have been watching a lot of like unsolved mysteries. Stuff like that is my new wave right now, which is just fun. Yeah, very fun and
very cool. I'm reading about quarterbacks from the early 1980s and frantically writing about them for the Substack.
I'm trying to think of like the football things that I usually go down. My thing for that is I'll like turn on old episodes of NFL Primetime. And just have that on. That's fun. Yeah.
Right.
Ton of those on YouTube. Those are good watches. You look at the quarterback stats, especially, like they'll go through, like, you know, each game, obviously. And then it's like the 2005 Niners when they were just god awful. And it's like, oh, Tim Rattay went 9 of 40 for 86 yards, and the 49ers beat the Cardinals 9-3. It's like, Jesus Christ.
Yeah, I'll look at, and then you look at like, and especially in the 90s, you'll get like these 4 of 21 passing days. Like, a Mike Tomczak or somebody like that. And, you know, that person will get ripped by a columnist or something, and I'll get the columnist quotes in there because it's funny. But it's like, if there was an internet back then, just the savagery of these guys. But, you know, it was luckily for them in the day, they might get ripped by a columnist, and then you live to show up and play quarterback the next week. There's not like an around-the-clock cycle of yahoos like us that are just blasting into your cell phone like all the negativity and shit like that.
I don't know why, but I've had a few that have just popped off on social media where everybody just really found it funny, which is nice. Eli Manning had a game, and I think his rookie year, he went like 6 of 22 and had a quarterback rating of like 3. It was just horrible.
He was bad as a rookie. They brought in Kurt Warner for a while.
Kurt Warner started that year, and then eventually Coughlin put him in, and Warner told him, okay, if you're going to pull me, you can't put me back in because that'll just kill Eli's confidence. And he didn't. Ended up going well. Right. But I'll let you go on that note. On Kurt Warner and Eli Manning. What a way to end this. So quarterbacks, top 5 across every team over at
the Texans, which will be kind of weird, and then the Colts, which will be more like really great historic humans. I'm
gonna go read the Steelers one because I haven't read it yet. You said that's up already?
That should be up. Should be in there.
Okay. I'm gonna judge hard by what order you put 1 and 2 in, because I know what my order is.
Judge hard, and then go into we have a fully functioning comment thread like you would have back in the day, where people actually talk, and they generally talk to each other, not at each other. So you can get
right.
In there,
That's good.
Right.
Oh man, I hate that. Okay, I'm gonna leave you with a story actually, because you'll.
Okay.
So growing up, I remember my dad used to do that, but it wasn't on football. It was like political forums, and like most Midwestern boys, my father was a Fox News dad, so you can imagine the just the views that he just didn't like Hillary Clinton at the time. I do remember that.
Yeah, that was common. Yes,
Dad wasn't a big Hillary guy.
Harrison Butker isn't either, I'm guessing.
All right, that's a perfect spot to leave it off. Thanks for listening to the Pump Pick, everybody. We'll see you next week.